Good morning. Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. How are you this Monday morning? I feel like, hold on just a second while I see myself here. Let me just move. I think I'm not quite in the middle of the screen. Tell me if that looks all right. Good morning, everybody. What a weird weekend when you have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right? It's like as soon as we hit Friday, I already felt like it was Sunday, and then there were two more Sundays. I mean, that's kind of impossible, right? But it's what it felt like anyway. Cat's Gallery, great to see you. Good morning in sunny California. Goretti, great to see you. Good morning in overcast and cold Ontario. Oh no. Oh no. 'Tis the season, isn't it? I'm feeling very cold right now. I don't know why. Normally I'm hot, but yeah, it feels very cold. It's beautiful out today. It's one of these beautiful New England mornings where everything is very brown, and it's like a warm kind of brown. Do you know what I mean? Like the leaves are still down and it's kind of a russety brown, and the sky is very, very blue, very pretty. It's crisp and chilly, but you can just tell we are right on the precipice of winter. It's suddenly going to go from this nice warm brown to this bleak white, which is fine. That's what it's supposed to do. But I can tell it's coming very quickly for us. And Sharon, good to see you in Vancouver. Cool and sunny. No rain. That is a yay. There's a lot to be said for that. Oh dear. Linda, good to see you. Good day. You're calling in from sunny New Jersey after a whole lot of rain, but no ice. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. Things to be grateful for, right? It's like, yeah, I don't know what it is. I'm very tired today. Maybe it was just the exertion of a 4-day weekend. I am excessively tired today, but we're going to have a wonderful, cozy show. The coziness of the show is going to reflect my energy. I don't need a lot of energy to talk about beautiful old rugs. It is a mellow subject, isn't it? Kirsten, great to see you. Happy Monday in slushy Vermont. Well, see, that's different. That's different. And Judy, great to see you. You watched the excellent interview with Rebecca. Oh, great. I hope that you all caught or that you will catch the Friday night cocktail night. And I did the first kind of live two-person show with Rebecca Martin of Storyteller Wool. She happens to be one of my closest friends, so it was very easy to do. We have a lot of fun together, so it was great. It was great. I felt like it was a good success. I said to her after, I felt like there was a tiny echo, but I couldn't tell if it was a universal thing, but I didn't hear anything like making an ongoing, distracting kind of a noise. So you can always give me feedback on this because we are figuring out the technology, and I am not technical. So I think it went well. I feel like it went well. I saw that like 543 people had already watched it when I logged on this morning. So I was really happy because I was really hoping to promote that book. And I was very proud to be the first person to really push that book and promote that book, push the boat out for her and get things going, right? Because she is just so fantastic. She's such a talent. She's such a good person too. That goes so far with me when I'm dealing with someone who is a really good person who I sincerely love. I try to do my best, and I think it was a great interview. We certainly showed how fantastic and inspiring that book is. So hopefully you all ordered your copy and you've got that coming. And if you are in the Rug Cooking Magazine book club, it is coming already. So don't double down on that. But it should have arrived already if you are in the book club, I think. Hard to know. Sue's, good to see you. Oh, it's snowy for you in Kansas. Is it pretty at least, or is it like a wrench in the works of the morning? It looks beautiful just to see the little snowflakes, though. And Marilyn, great to see you. And Linda says, of course you're tuckered out. Yeah, I'm starting to feel tuckered out. That's what's so weird. I feel like we had a fun short episode on Thanksgiving right at the end of the Macy's Day Parade. The subject was the Macy's Day Parade, and I put out that pattern that I started with the original Thanksgiving turkey. I really love that pattern. I am going to expand it on both sides, though. It was just I wanted to get that turkey in. But that was a fun episode. And then of course it was Thanksgiving that very day, and then the next day was Rebecca's interview, and that took some brain power with the figuring out the computer program and trying to overcome all of the anticipated problems there, blocking Murphy, at Crossroads where he might have crept in, and then the kids had birthday parties both Saturday and Sunday. which was extraordinary. So yeah, whew. But feeling happy, getting lots of orders out. I'll tell you, getting lots of orders out. Colleen, great to see you. Colleen, I just took your Jack the pirate pumpkin booty, BOO, right? Pirate booty. I just took him off the mantle. I was working on the beginning of the next vignette, right? So I'm back in the old room. I've got the painting up here that I always think looks like my daughter Jocelyn. It's not. I found it at like Goodwill, but it always reminds me of her. So I have that there, and then I took out my box of ribbon candy that I found at a country fair. You know, it's like an old box. And these are two new guys. This guy and this guy I got at that little festival I did last weekend with my mom, the Christmas thing. And they're on springs. I think they're so pretty. They're like sort of a felty wool, really pretty. And as time goes on, I will expand the whole mantle here. So we are very festive indeed, because we are approaching some busy holiday times. And just to recap, let me come over here and recap with you, because this week the Robert Frost class is starting, Design Like Frost and Frost. Man, it was so hard choosing which Robert Frost poems to cover in this episode of Design Like. And we are working with stencils, so the download was sent a couple of days ago with, I think, 5 or 6 pages, many, many, many stencils. They don't all have to be cut out. You don't have to cut them all out. You can if you want. Oh, thank you so much. Jay's bringing in one of these mushroom coffee things to like get me going. Just cold and like I just feel seized up, you know? No, because if you put the heater on, then I'm going to immediately be too hot, but thank you. Hot, cold, hot, cold. That's being in my 50s, isn't it? That's what that is. Um, I forgot where I was with that. Frost. So if you are signed up for the class and you received the file, you should have received the email with the file. Now, there is an attachment with pages of stencils to cut out if you want. You can also cut them out in class, or you can use tracing paper and trace them as we make compositions. But I've chosen a bunch. I think I've chosen at least 10 poems. So it's going to have to, and then a couple of them I'm leaving for like homework. But I just chose Robert Frost winter type poems, you know, late autumn, winter, because I was thinking about now, because he has a lot of beautiful poems about spring and summer. But I was kind of staying seasonal for this moment, so you could come up with some compositions that you might be inclined to work on right now. So that is coming up, and that looks like, let's see, that looks like, let me bring you to our little show today. That looks like this is the product. And it should be in the description of this video. Melissa, good to see you. This is coming up this coming Wednesday and next Sunday. So the following Wednesday and Sunday. Well, gosh, what was I going to say? Sorry, my brain is not working that well. Monday brain. These are not the stencils from it. These are maybe a couple of them, but I did a whole new set of stencils. This was just to advertise it a while back. Don't want to alarm you, but there are 2 advent calendars left, and I can't restock this late in the season. It's too much of a wait, waiting for these bags to come in. I'm ready on my end, but last time the bags took a bit longer than I was expecting. They are beautiful. It's 25 Jane Austen themed bags for a very Jane Austen Christmas. And this advent calendar has shipped. Everybody who's ordered one so far has shipped immediately. And we are on the threshold of a month of a very sort of British Christmas, talking about traditions, talking about folklore, talking about history, talking about comfort and coziness, festivity, all of the great traditions of the season, and a lot of sort of period lore, particularly with the Jane Austen period, the Georgian period, and there will be a choose your own adventure pretty much every day that I put up as a paragraph, both like a choose your own adventure book, both in our Facebook group, which is Rug Hooking and Punch Needle Club. And also, I will send it in YouTube in case you're not a Facebook person and you want to see it on YouTube. And it will be on the Ribbon Candy Hooking website. So it'll be there daily, and you can vote on what you think Jane should do next. And there will be a series of patterns as the story evolves that go along with this month of storytelling, and it will be kind of a festive adventure. I was just tracing for myself the second pattern. Melissa, I showed you this one already. I'm still kind of fooling with the lines of it. But another Jane Austen quote, "But indeed, I would have nothing rather but tea." And this is from Mansfield Park. So I'm kind of fooling with the text and deciding if I want it at all but three ladies inside a teacup. Lots of patterns coming out this month that will be very Jane Austen themed, very Christmassy, will really suit being hooked with things in the Advent calendar like velvet, lots of wool, and particularly Regency colors. Paisley, right? Three different paisleys in the calendar. So I'm making patterns that I think would really work well with those very sort of lush luxury type supplies. Pretty yarns too. So that's coming up, and there are two left. So that is the end. After that, that is a finite ending to this particular Advent calendar. And gosh, I think that might be it. There's more news for sure. There's a hook along coming up on National Rug Cooking Day. I left my phone in the other room, which I think is Monday, December 5th. And a lot of people have ordered the Magdalena. I just threw out because I had a bunch of extra printouts of it. It's over there. I know you know what it looks like. I bet you know what it looks like. The Magdalena, like evergreen, right? It's called the Magdalena hook along. It's a small piece. A lot of people have been ordering it as a kit, as a pattern, as a download, I think. Lots of different ways so that you can hook along, even if you want to hook with your own supplies and you don't want to color it the way I'm coloring it. Also works great because that hook along is coming up, and on that day I will tune in. I think it starts at 2. It's all in the product. That's also in the description of this video. I will tune in and I'll start from the beginning and I'll just hook it until we're done. I consider it a day event. So that should be a lot of fun. That's coming up too. And there are 3 other Magdalena products based on that Magdalena evergreen tree that I put out this season. The Doodle Tote has been selling like crazy. It comes with a frame, right? The comb frame for punching or hooking. And 50 little cards of materials, and it's got the tree right on a bag that is holding all of the supplies. A beautiful burlap bag. It's a very high quality tote that you could hook the Magdalena tree, maybe add some hearts, stars, the year, family name, houses in the background, and actually use it for the holidays, or give it as a gift with a wine bottle or something practical in it, right? So really good. December 4th. Thank you, Linda. Monday, December 4th. I was wondering about that. December 4th, Monday, Hook Along Day, National Rug Hooking Day. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I hope that we'll have some time together that day. Whether you're doing the pattern or not, I will be on, and we can be together and hook and talk through it. And if you are a beginner, it'll be a great jumping off point to start looking at how rug hooking is done. Now, speaking of rug hooking, let's go back to our slideshow of some really lovely rugs that are available right now. We have not, I made this big list that I thought would get us through one day, and this is our 3rd episode because I always take longer than I think I will take. But pulling up rugs like this, particularly ones that are available now in the season, if you have some gift giving to do, even if it's gift giving for yourself, it's kind of exciting to look at what is out there as far as hooked rugs that are available, that are semi-affordable. So let's talk about this one. This is $250 on eBay, and this is under Grenfell Antique Hooked Rug. Now, this could be a Grenfell rug. When I first saw it, I looked at it and I thought, this has none of the trappings of a Grenfell rug for me. So let's talk about this together. I'm not going to push the boat out on this one. That's for sure. Hold on just a second. I'm having some mushroom tea here. This mushroom tea is supposed to give you clarity and energy and all this stuff. We'll see. So I was looking at this and thinking, this looks more like a Hutchinson rug to me than it does a Grenfell rug. And it also doesn't look like it's done in silk stockings. And then it occurred to me, I haven't done a Grenfell episode for about 3 years. Maybe it's time for another one of those. But it occurred to me that I don't know. Does it have to be stockings for it to be Grenfell? I mean, I would think that the early ones were not stockings because they took to doing stockings when they kind of leveled up the scale of the mission, the operation. But I'm not sure that this looks like an early Grenfell rug. It looks really out of step with, I see the Grenfell rugs as being fairly artful and austere, really inspired by the natural world, landscapes, local animals, things that would serve as a great souvenir. The subject of fishermen obviously is not out of the question. I've just never seen this rug and heard it called Grenfell, so I wasn't sure. Let's look at it a little bit closer. Now, this is not, these aren't stockings. This is certainly wool. It could be that it's a Grenfell pattern. Could it be? I don't know. Somebody could have copied it. Pattern wise, it still doesn't seem like a Grenfell to me. It does not look right. It's not executed in the style of what we traditionally call a Grenfell rug. I'm not, well, let's see what we can see. Let's see what we can see. This is the back. So I'm not seeing an attribution on it either. And, I really feel that if you're going to be calling a rug a Grenfell rug, it has to be one of the known patterns that we would recognize and say, well, certainly that's a Grenfell. Or, sometimes a creeping suspicion would be like it's hooked in nylons, and you think, ooh, this could be a Grenfell rug, but without that attribution, the tag, it's very, I mean, I would not go for this as a Grenfell rug because it doesn't show me, it's not showing me any of the signs I would expect to find, right? Including the tag. Most importantly, the tag. Ryan, good to see you. Happy Monday. I don't know. I'm certainly not an authority on Grenfell rugs, right? That's not my specific area of expertise. I think the person who posted this rug saw another rug that was called a Grenfell rug and with of the same pattern, and then it thus named this auction also Grenfell. I'm just not sure. I mean, for me, I think not. It is a lovely pattern. It's on burlap, right? It's been sewn down around the edges. It has those three little hangers on it and kind of little twill tape, cotton tape. It's got some interesting hooking patterning in it. If you've been following the slides, you see whoever made it is kind of breaking the Dominique Bonjour. It's kind of oh, is it snowing there? Oh man, that sounds beautiful. That sounds compelling and beautiful. Talking about Grenfell rugs, right? Um, this one is seem. I'm going to back up a little bit. And if you look up into the sky and into the border, you see that this rug, somebody's kind of boxing the hooking part of it into squares with the yarn, and then doing kind of a concentric square inward. And why not, right? Not so much with the water, but with the sky. That is a real particular style. Rita says, I don't think it is, not the usual subject. Exactly. That's the first thing that kind of upsets the idea. It is a kind of a comic subject. It is a real caricature piece. Yeah, it doesn't feel right, does it? It really doesn't feel right. And this is just, this is all, it's a beautiful rug. And if you love it and it reminds you, you love fishing or fishermen, or reminds you of a favorite place, or so, you live in a fishing town, then this could be really interesting for you. I love the way that the colors have mellowed just looking at the back, from the back. For me, the colors on the back, very cartoony, but the colors on the front have chilled out quite a bit, and they are prettier. But it is a caricature piece. It does have a cartoon feel. It reminds me of those, country cutouts that people used to put on their lawn. That was like a jigsaw cutout piece of wood of, like a sunbonnet character, boy or girl, with overalls like bending down, and it was like the butt. You know what I mean? It's that kind of a figure. Seems too colorful, but you love it, Barbara. It is a beautiful piece. It always makes me get a bit of agita when I'm reading about rugs that are currently up for auction. And I feel like there's a lot of rugs out there that have misattributions on them. And it's just a bummer because if people buy a rug and, 250 is not nothing. If I spend 250 or lose 250, I'm in a budget strata where I would absolutely notice that and it would be upsetting. So it's just hard because you could spend whirligigs. Exactly. It does remind me of whirligigs. You could spend all day writing to people and saying, you shouldn't write this, you're going to get in trouble, this isn't what it is. But people typically don't write back, or if they do, they rail at you. I've had that experience too. Rail at you. Oh, no, you're wrong. Okay, see what happens. But yeah, it is a pretty piece. It's certainly a pretty piece. It's a great subject. It's unusual. I had not seen this pattern before. So when it popped up, I thought, oh, interesting. It just wrangled, the fact that it was called Grenfell in the title. It just wrangled. Now, this is another one that is a bit problematic in its description. So maybe this is the theme of this morning. Um, this is an absolutely beautiful rug. I would love to have this rug. This is described as an antique cooked rug. Now, I can't imagine that it is. I really, really am as solvent on the point that it is not an antique rug. Is it a beautiful rug? Absolutely. It is absolutely gorgeous. I would put that right over this mantle and never take it down. It is $1,850. And I think that the price point is based on the assumption that it is an antique rug. You look too, right? I'm looking at photos on the internet that are low resolution, right? So this is not the definitive, but I don't feel that this could possibly be an antique rug. Ryan, I love the psychedelic quality too, and I think it is based on possibly an antique rug, or it's some kind of composite. You know, it has this kind of pen Dutch feel to it, with the sort of hex symbols falling away from the central motif. That central motif is just lovely. I think the colors are just lovely. Um, I have to say, I have not ever seen antique rugs with birds that are done in this sort of caricature. Do they look a little like a Magdalena bird? A little, a little. Not enough to be an antique rug, right? Because if we're talking about stuff that's antique, we're supposed to be talking about 100-year-old things. If we're talking about vintage things, those are 50-year-old things. If I were to guess on a year for this rug, I would say 1995, something like that, without any hesitation. It looks to me like somebody has done some beautiful indigo dyeing in the background. Lots of pretty red colors, lots of primitives. It does have offbeat colors. I'm not seeing any of the blacks and browns, just in the bird that I would, in the khakis. I'm not seeing any of those somber colors that I would expect to see in an antique rug. I'm seeing beautiful bright colors that have obviously been dyed, if not by the maker, then from a store where the supplies were acquired. But I don't see this as an antique rug at all. And it does seem like a large floor size rug. I didn't write down the measurement. It's an interesting rug because it's a bit of a composite of different styles. You can see in this slide, there is a kind of a hat tip to a scroll, like that ribbon running around the edge. It is a very shallow scroll. It's not a huge border. The borders are interesting, right? There are kind of bullseye patterns that are repeated. We are seeing a small color wheel, which is interesting, very different, interesting, bringing me back to the feel of like the hexes or the barn quilts, right? Like very contemporary that we see today, that we've seen for the last couple of decades. Another thing that is kind of doesn't fit for me are the two little leaves that are part of the swag border. Those are more traditional. Those are more middle 20th century. It's a beautiful motif. A semi-realistic leaf doesn't really fit in for me with these really folky bullseyes. And all of the, the little round motifs that we're seeing. It's a great composite piece. This is the back of it. I don't mind the leaves on the side. I think I'd like the rug a hair more if the leaves were done in a more folky style. That would be a little more consistent with the other motifs in the rug. So all good for me. It's good for me. It's fine for me. I love the color wheels. I love the circles. It is a absolutely beautiful rug. And it does look like a floor size rug. I expect it to be between 4 and 5 feet the long way. That's what I would expect, just judging from the floorboards and the pictures. And we are seeing a picture here of the front and the back together, folded over. Really beautiful, really well done, but it can't possibly be an antique. Come on, no way. But it is beautiful. So the question becomes, is this beautiful, absolutely stellar rug justified $1,850 price tag? You know, I think it is, but I think in this situation it can't be, because part of the value, part of the price that the seller put on this rug, they're justifying the value by calling it an antique rug, and it is not an antique rug. So we already have a problem here. I think that this rug, as a rug hooker, something as unusual as this, and I don't recognize the pattern, it could well be that this is one of the many patterns from the 80s, 90s. Um, Prince Edward Island, Mariah, great to see you. Welcome. Good afternoon. It could be that this is a known pattern. I could see this as I say, being like an 80s, 90s era pattern. I'm not familiar with the pattern, but there were a lot of little rug hooking businesses that popped up around that time with beautiful, whimsical patterns, right? That would look, that could well look like this exact one. I I think it probably is a commercial pattern, to be honest. Um, I think it's a beautiful, beautiful rug, but I think for 1850, that kind of value in terms of what things are costing right now at auctions, the trailblazer auctions like, Christie's and Sotheby's auctions that really dictate where the market is at for hooked rugs and antiques in general. I think a rug like this, I would expect at an online auction, like that kind of an auction, a Christie's, a Sotheby's, one of those. I would expect to see this sell for under 1,000 for sure. I wouldn't be surprised if we were looking more at, and we know that it's a shame, right? But reality is reality. I would expect to see this somewhere at 475 to 575, that kind of a thing. I can see people getting sticker shock at the 500 mark and then again at the 600 mark, and I don't see it going much higher than that. So in terms of value, I don't think in the near future at 1850 you would see any kind of return on the value. But do you have the very place for this rug, right? Either on the floor or on the wall, because I feel it's a contemporary rug and it could stand to be on either. You can see it's not whipped on the edges, it's a folded over border, and that's great, but you do want to be a little bit careful about that. If I had this rug, which I would love to have this rug, I would certainly put it on the wall, even if it was larger than I thought, because I would want to be quite sure that it was very safe. And I think it is a great nod to 19th century rugs, but that it is not a 19th century rug, and that's a big price tag for a contemporary rug. And we know it's worth it. Um, but yeah, it's hard. It's hard to spend that kind of money on something that is described incorrectly, right? In my opinion, that's described incorrectly, so that is a problem. Sharon says that rug would never hit the floor in my house. No, I absolutely agree. It is a great, it's a beautiful thing. It's a great investment, and most people are not in a situation like I am, where I'm starting a business and I still have two little kids and everything. And if I had $2,000, I would be tempted by that rug. But if I had just about 2,000 to spend without, getting stomach cramps, I think I would go for more of an antique rug in terms of investment and my personal taste. Personal taste has everything to do with it, because would anybody balk at spending $1,850 on a beautiful painting of that size? They would consider it a bargain, right? So it's just the way that it is. Speaking of which, I don't think I ever showed you this painting. I don't know what made me think of this, but this I spent about, I don't know, 54 at a flea market. And I don't know anything about it, but it is an enormous painting. And can you see these funny caravans in here? I always have this on the side of me, and I can see it when I'm talking to you. But it's a bit of just a wacky scene, right? Really wacky. My point is, even with paintings at this moment, I would say this is an antique painting. I'd say this is like a 1930s, 1940s, probably 1930s. Um, yeah, if you're investing for value, you have to be really savvy about what you're doing, and you have to be pretty sure that the person who's selling it knows what they're doing. You don't always get that, and I'm gonna go a step further and say you don't usually get that on eBay, right? You don't get sellers who are specialists in rugs, and when you do, they tend to be the Oriental type of rugs, and maybe they've gotten a handful of hooked rugs or rugs that are sheared rugs or rugs that have been done in different styles that are proper antiques. But typically, even those descriptions, you're looking at something that's just maddening for us because it's all incorrect. Mm. Sharon says you can get a lot of yarn and other fibers for 1,800. That's true. If you think of it in terms of what you can get and make yourself, that it's just like some finish, like that rug is a finished rug. It has the je ne sais quoi, doesn't it? It's really, there's something special about it. And I feel like if I were to try to recreate that kind of a background, let me go back one more time, that's done in all the sort of crazy indigo colors. This is the reverse. I feel like I'm not sure I could get it exactly this way. But at the same time, and this is something to think about when you are considering, shall I make a rug that I like, that is an antique rug from eBay that costs this much? Should I just make it? If I was going to remake this rug, I would take the opportunity to change a couple of things that I'm not super fond of. Like, for example, I'm not super fond of the fact for myself that the birds are, two of them have white wings and two of them don't. I find the two white wings quite distracting. Um, in fact, I think I would change for myself. I think I'd be tempted to change the color of the bird, even if it was turned it into an unnatural bird color or a full blast red for like a cardinal or something. But that's for me distracting. It's a very small point, but when you're thinking about shelling out that kind of money, and for me also the leaves are covering the little black flower pots on the side that are holding the pretty flowers up, and I would be tempted to stylize those leaves. But those would be two things that I know in my head my hand would change with a Sharpie marker if I was approaching. So if you are going to remake patterns, you should think about, well, do I love everything about it? Do I love absolutely everything about it? Oh, Sharon, you wouldn't do the birds at all. That's a great thought. I didn't even think that. I didn't even think that. I think you're onto something there because for me, the birds make it super, super contemporary and for me, it would look like a much older rug if it did not have those little leaves on the side or the birds. I think you're really onto something. I would be tempted to kind of maybe even fill in the background with a couple more motifs, even larger motifs, because you do see rugs that are like, oh, I wonder if the pattern, you walked me right to where I should have started. I wonder if because you do see patterns like this of antique rugs in the early 20th century. You see them coming out of Canada, like Garrett Bluenose, and you see like Heirloom and some of the US companies very early in the 20th century putting out rugs that are kind of what word am I looking for? Reproductions of much earlier rugs. And I've seen a lot that have these oval motifs with really big blasting sort of close-up motifs on the sides. It's usually eight. It's usually like six or eight. And in this case, there's a central motif where I haven't seen that before. But I wonder if it is a commercial pattern that has been done over and somebody might have taken out four more circular motifs and put in birds there instead. And if so, brava to that because you should always make the pattern exactly the way that you want it. But yeah, this has got a lot of inconsistencies, and it's interesting to talk about rugs like this because it gives us ideas of what we can do, what's possible, what makes sense. We see a lot of inconsistencies with rugs because rugs are often composites of an original pattern and then someone's own ideas layered upon. And this is another beautiful rug that I could not justify the expense of because of the price. Now I am dying for this rug, but let's talk about this. There is one photo available of it, and it is a super low quality photo, already quite bad because we are seeing this one chance. Um, it's almost like someone took a picture of it and they had a split second to document it and then they couldn't get back to the rug and take more pictures, right? The price on this rug is $1,650. This seems to me to be a little bit bigger than maybe a welcome mat size, or maybe it is a welcome mat size. It looks like an original pattern because it is a hot mess, and that's what I love about it. It seems Eastery to me, and I really, really love this pattern. 1650 when you can't even tell what technique. Matthew, great to see you. And Melissa, it is super sweet. I feel like I want to do this rug in mini punch, right? On a little cutting board kind of a thing. Um, I love, it appears to be two Easter rabbits holding yellow eggs. And then in the center, a quite pretty either field of flower or decorated egg, hard to tell. And the fleshy colored things with white coming out, are those more eggs? What do we think on that subject? Are they eggs or nests or what? It's a very unusual rug. It's really pretty, but at this moment, I can't tell whether it is a hooked rug, if it's a clipped rug. I can't tell. I can't tell at all. You really need a better photo. You need close-ups. You need to see the back. You need to see where the damage is. You need to see if there's been some restoration. It looks like a very early rug to me. If I look at the bottom right-hand corners, it's quite dark navy black, like they've run out of the grass material color, so they filled in with something else. I think it's a good solution. It's very innocuous the way it's placed. I love the silhouettes. This reminds me of the Frost and Frost class that's coming up using stencils. These look like stencils. Somebody got a hold of a picture of a moose, a bunny, and a bird, and they tripled the bird, they doubled the bunny, and they kept one moose. So we are just a few more animals away from the 12 Days of Christmas song right here. But it is a really, really, really lovely rug. I'm certainly going to reproduce this rug for myself. And Judy says, I wondered if the black was previous repairs. It could be. It could be that it was positioned in such a way that the corners took a beating, or that there was legs of furniture on the edges. And if that's the case and they restored it, they did a great job. It looks like some colorful fill on those bottom corners. If I make this photo any bigger, it's going to really lose its integrity because it's a really bad photo. Um, it's a beautiful rug. Are those birds on the bottom? You know what? They could be, Rita. You're right. They could be, you're right. That makes sense. They could be bird heads with their wings kind of flapped shut. That makes sense. That makes sense. The thing that throws me is that little field of flowers, but I bet what happened there was because they ran out of green, they put a field of red in there with the little flowers behind it. It's just amazing problem solving. Mm. Oh, I see. Barbara, you're right. It does. Oh, you're right. Huh. That is a great clue. You are good. I wonder where it is, because if it was somewhere I could drive to, I'd be very tempted to go out and look at it. I would very much doubt whether the price in any antique store, right, where they would allow you to put the broken table or chair that's next to it that doesn't look particularly old and chalk marks on the floor. I would really doubt that there was any rug present in any kind of establishment like that that would cost 1600 and anything. But I'd be so curious to see it and take better photos of it. I wonder if somebody is aware. I have such a sort of nasty, sort of suspicious mind. But I wonder if somebody took a picture of it because it's in a local. This is not fair to say, but hang on, because it's in a local antique store and they're just waiting for somebody to buy it, and maybe it does cost 150 at the antique store. Wouldn't that be? I'm not condemning anybody, but interesting, isn't it? Maybe checking to see if they could buy it and flip it. That's absolutely possible, isn't it? That would be diabolical. But I know eBay, so I've had some real good you know what shows on eBay. Interesting. To be continued. I'm going to go back and check the location of that, see if we can chase that up. That would be a terrible hornet's nest of a thing. If that indeed was what was happening, that would be terrible. Now, moving on to something that is the opposite of terrible, could be the shop owner, too. You're right, Kirsten. Could be the shop owner. Nothing wrong with selling your own stuff, right? It's just not sufficient to put a listing up with one out of focus photo for anything that you expect to get $1,650 for. Now, this is the polar opposite. This is an almost complete piece with a lot of trouble for $78. Now, normally I'm not hugely interested in geometric florals. We see a lot of them. There's tons of them out there. This one for me feels different. And I think part of the reason it feels different is because the maker is using a lot of really pastel or faded material. And I think it's quite beautiful in the sort of ghostly quality of the colors here. It looks like it's like a made up pattern. I don't know. Maybe when we get closer, pictures of it, but the square, the geometric motif is not very good, right? It's like someone was doing what quilters call the attic window, but they added an extra line, and it made it neither a log cabin square nor an attic window. And it's not a problem, but it is confusing. Um, I think if you're doing a geometric in this style, you expect to see either the attic window or the log cabin in the geometric alternating square. And here we're seeing something I haven't seen before that really doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but it does strike me as being original and kind of an original idea. And yeah, I'm much more inclined to accept irregularities when I feel like, oh, this was someone trying quite hard to do something artistic. Now, the problem here really is the damage, isn't it? Let's look at it a little bit closer up. Sharon says the square on the bottom, second from the right, looks like a fossil scorpion. Second on the bottom, second from the right, looks like a fossil scorpion. It does. It does. Isn't that funny? They do. It does look fossily. I think part of it maybe is the color. It has a bit of a stone look. Oh, Mariah, you live in a fishing area, so maybe that first picture with the fisherman would be good for you. That'd be really. I feel like that first one with the fisherman really belongs in a place where there is a fishing community, right? To give it full credit. Now let's tear in a little bit here, and from this shot, things look okay. I mean, except for the gaping hole, plural. A lot of the rug is intact. So let's talk about this because, I mean, this is quite a beautiful rug. I have to say, for that money, it is quite a beautiful rug. The finished parts are stunning, absolutely stunning. It looks like a good early rug. I'd put this early 20th century, I'd put this 1920s, maybe 1910s. Absolutely beautiful. Let's see what else we can know. Well, this is bad. The gaping hole is quite bad, can be repaired, but this is what we're seeing here is a nice piece of cotton that has come out, and you can see that that edging is right up to, right, the tide is about to go out on this one. It's right up to the last line of hooking. It's right at the border, and we've even lost some of the border. So this is a problem because once you lose that dark border, right, that last line, that last sort of embankment, it's going to be quite bad because the composition is not going to be able to hold its design stability at that point. This hole is extraordinarily bad, and it's a shame. It looks very, very brittle. You can repair this, right? This is in the middle of the composition. North, south, east, and west is okay. You can just, based on another piece of linen or burlap under it, and hook through it. You can save this square. That part's okay. I feel like the more immediate problem is going to be the border, right? Because you're about to lose the border on this piece. And the back of it is so beautifully done, isn't it? I mean, it's just so pretty. It was done in very soft colors to begin with. I see some jersey. I see stuff curling up like stockings. I see the tails on the bottom side of the rug. People were not trained in that day to bring the tails up, right? They left like the ugly sort of knotty parts underneath, which makes perfect sense, right? This is all consistent with it being, I would say, an early 20th century rug. Oop, let's not do that one yet. That's our next one. So this rug at $78 for me, oh man, it's a tough one. It's a tough one because I could see salvaging part of it as a runner, right? Because you can see when you look at it that the bottom, right and left side in the bottom border, it originally had 3 rows of hooking that were gray. Yeah, it definitely needs a home, Rita. It is just beautiful. Barbara says, I would just be loving on it as it is. That's the other option. Absolutely, that's the other option. Mounting it onto something, right? Because this is also a great example of a nice early rug, and you're celebrate. Who knows? I mean, there is something sad and romantic about the fact that it is so nearly complete, but in another day's work, even a few hours and it would be complete. There is something sad about that. and the state of the thing, Sally, good to see you, you would frame it. I think that would be an excellent call because it would be a great celebration of this person's work, of their great idea for their original geometric square, right? Their version of the square, because you can see they did different geometrics in the two middle squares. They were kind of experimenting with lines and trying to do something artistic. And it's different. And their flowers are quite good. The flowers are very different scales, which further makes me think that this is not a commercial pattern. Because if you look at the finished one on the top row toward the left, that's finished, but that's a very large scale crop of a flower. That's not the kind of flower that you'd see in the commercial patterns. You would see the whole little sprig with the top of the flower, the leaves, and the stem. So, and Sharon says, yes, I would frame it and fix the border and leave the unfinished square alone. Yeah, there is some, there is something romantic here. Looking into that hole too, somehow is a metaphor, isn't it? I mean, isn't it? It is a very, very pretty rug for $78, and I don't remember the auction, but it is under antique rugs, antique hooked rugs on eBay. You'll see it. It could be that the seller would take an offer, and you could be crazy and put in a much lower offer if that's what you're comfortable with for now. And I wouldn't be surprised if the seller took it because the seller must know that there are some problems here, understatement. But I hope that somebody does take this rug and tidy it up, even, make a savings on the rug to bring it to a framer or frame it yourself. Don't put glass in front of it. Leave it open and leave it there as, something to think on and dream on every time you look at it, because it is a beautiful little tribute to the past and to somebody who almost finished, right? A lot to be said there. This is the next, oh, no, not yet. Hang on. Let me come back up here. Nope, hang on. Sorry. How'd I do that? So that one was 78. Okay, I missed putting a marking in. Hold on while I fool around. A little bit of fooling around here. There we go. So, I must have missed, I was trying to note on each slide how much the thing was. I feel like this was, I want to say between 200 and 250. I really like this rug. This is an antique rug. This is a 19th century rug. I feel very confident about that. It's an oval rug. And I always feel like oval rugs are a little less desirable because, an oval is typically a shape for the floor and not for the wall. When we look at the wall, just, Western culture, we're used to seeing things that are rectangles. Pictures, photographs, we're used to seeing things that are rectangles on the walls. So a circle on the wall is a little bit harder to sell. I'm not sure that this would go for 200 and anything. It is a beautiful old rug and it's certainly worth it, but let's look at it closer up. It also doesn't look huge to me. It looks like a welcome mat size. It's a beautiful graphic. You can see it has a very high pile. Let's look at it a little bit closer. It does look like part of it's hooked and part of it is either clipped or has ripped and turned itself into a clippy rug over the years. Doesn't matter which. It's a beautiful rug with a lot of different materials. Let your eye travel around and look at things that are both yarn and at about, if this were a clock, I'd say at about 4 o'clock, there is like a little thready patch of what looks like a dirty white, right? A little thready patch. And to me, that looks like chiffon or something that has, unraveled, pooped out over the years. Just a lot of different materials here. Knit materials, probably pantyhose, finery materials. It really is an interesting piece. It's beautiful textural old piece. That's velvet in the red flower. That certainly looks like velvet. We're seeing tweeds, like garment materials. We're seeing lots of different stuff. This would be just luscious to look at, right? This would be like the rug hooker's labyrinth, to just put this near your face and let your eye travel around from time to time when you're spacing out and relaxing. This would be a great piece to just look at and travel with. It is an older composition. It borders on abstract because of the high pile. You can see on the back of the rug, there is a clear pattern, but with that high pile, it gets a bit obscured. Without having a really clear color plan or lots of any one color, right? They have approached the rug, the maker has approached the rug like it's a hit or miss design and filled in colors where they could and had to be at peace in other areas where there just wasn't enough of a color to finish. And for that reason, it does look a bit more abstract than maybe the maker would have liked. But you get what you get and you don't get upset. You have the materials you have, and what else can you do, right? You just keep going. So it has had a couple of old patches. Oh, there's actually, okay, you see it now? There's actually a cat in the middle and two cats sleeping on the bottom. We're going to have to go back to the beginning now because I did not see this at all. I think I saw it when I put this photo into the slideshow, but that was a few days ago. Let's come back to the beginning just for a second and see if it's easier to spot those little kits. Let's see. I'm having a... Okay. So the rug is upside down in this picture. Let me turn it around. It's quite hard to see. Hold on. I'm going to turn it around for you. Oh, wait a minute. Let's do transform and 180. There we go. So now it's right side up. So you see the gray kitty in the middle with the little light eyes, little empty eye sockets there. And then the two white cats are sleeping at the bottom, and there's flowers on the top three corners. So this rug has an orientation, right? This is the right side up. It's not as abstract as I thought at first glance because of the high pile and because of the sort of coloring that was available to do, it is a little bit obscured, but it doesn't make it any less special. Makes it into a little bit of a Where's Waldo? And why not? It is a beautiful rug. I do feel like it was over the 200 mark because I remember thinking, oh, I love rugs of this age, and I thought, ooh, that's really right up there, What's in the corner? Oh, no, there are two white cats in the corners, Rita, and in the other corners there's two flowers. Let's look at the back again. Is it this one? No, wait a minute. It's this one? Yeah. So I think those are three flowers. Well, there's a maroon flower top and bottom, and then two khaki flowers and two kits, I think. I think that's another maroon flower at the bottom. You can see they've done a lot of nice work with putting in colors and stuff, and they did outline in black, right? The maker did outline in black. So she understood about contrast and how it helps when something's outlined in black. But maybe there's not enough black or there's not enough dark around the cat motifs to really pop it. Yeah, those are two white cats for sure on the side. What's on the corner? Yeah, definitely two sleeping white cats, and then the gray in the center. Little sweeties. It is a feast for the eyes. This is just a nice thing to own, right? It's a nice old rug with nice old repairs, beautiful original pattern. You can see the cat is quite off center. But can't you picture someone standing there with a piece of charcoal or some kind of pencil, or maybe they freehanded, but they did it a little bit off center. That central cat is a little bit off center, and they were probably very pleased with themselves when they drew that cat, and then drew the kind of flying buttress curves, and yes, this is right side up now. And then placed more cats under it. They were probably very, very pleased and then thought, what will go here? And then a little bit of flower. Oh, good, I've got some red. Oh, good, I've got some kind of sangria purpley. They probably didn't say sangria. But, the person who made this was probably very, very pleased with the way that it came out. And it is a lovely rug. And I'll tell you, this whole flower was patched, right? So somebody cared enough about this rug, probably somebody in the family, and cared enough that they did what is a beautiful repair right through it to the other side, and in colors that are pretty exact. I'm wondering if they actually used the materials that fell out to just, because this is a very, very good match, isn't it? It's an exquisite piece. It really is a beautiful piece. And again, if you're joining us late, which you are welcome all the time, these are all rugs that came up on eBay as antique hooked rugs. So we're kind of going through them here and there. Now, this one is 1945. Do you think it is 1945? I guess it's 1945. Is it 1945? Okay, let's look at this rug a little bit. Yeah, it's got to be because nobody was hooking in 1885. That's too early. Isn't it funny though that there's a swirl on the first eight, but I guess it is 45. So no, that's okay. That's okay. I'm going to go along with that. It looks like a much older rug, right? Because of the style of the pattern. Let's look at it in some different ways. I'm going to skip to the one of the last. Yeah, I'm going to skip to this one first. You know, it drives me crazy when sellers um, give you every possible cropped artistic view of the rug except the full on, you know, this shot. This is the shot you want. You want to collect information here and say, all right, 1945. It looks like it says Victor, Victor. If I reverse it, let me turn it upside down. Let's do this. I think it says Victor on the other side. Let's see. Rotate. So it's not a good shot this way, but do you see what I see? Down in the bottom, on the sides of the flower, it's VI, and underneath CT, and then on the other side, OR. Could be. Now, this is a beautiful, like, hit or miss style. It looks like another great composite rug. Beautiful flowers on the sides, beautiful central motif, a little undersized, right? Looks like a little tray of some, like the motif looks like a tray because of the way the border is done. I like the little crazy snowflakes in blue. I like the way that there are a bunch of little motifs of flowers and geometrics jigsawed in around the edges. It's a really, really whimsical piece. It is an absolutely beautiful piece. Now that we've seen it full blast, let's look at it a little bit closer up. Colors are very, very mellow, really beautiful. I have a special love for this rug, I have to say. I love the colors. I love the mix. I love this square peg circle hole placement of all of the little flowers and little flags and little symbols. It's a really, really interesting piece to look at. What I don't like about this piece, and it's not that I don't like it, but $2,500, it's a lot for a 1945 rug. Now, it is a beautiful rug. It is absolutely a beautiful rug. It looks like it has a dark band on the two short sides. It is beautiful, and it's a great attribution. This is a good year. This is the year World War II. This is the year World War II ended, right? So this is a happy year for a lot of people. This could be sort of a memory rug. I just want to come back to the full on. Maybe this one. There we go. I'm going to turn it back to the other side because I feel like it's easier for us to look at. It could be in remembrance of somebody, right? Because of the year, Victor. I hope Victor made it. Um, it's a beautiful rug. You know, 2,500 is a lot without provenance. That's a lot. I think this is a fantastic rug. Um, for less. I would love to see this mounted at an antique store. And if I saw this for under 1,000, I would be very tempted by it because it is a newer rug as rugs go, right? It's not an antique yet, but it does have all of the sort of tropes of an antique rug. There's a lot of running out of material. I can just feel the panic of the running outs, but it does have a bit of a deco feel too with like the pastel stripes, right? It is really a composite of several generations of art. The person who did it was very artful and was extremely good at doing text, right? Very unusual text, also very unusual to do the text in white. So there's a lot of things going on with this that are exquisite. I would love to have this rug, but 2,500 is a lot. That's a lot of hundreds. Mm. It is beautiful though. Oh man, are we right on the money again with the time? We are. I still have a ton more to go. Well, we'll have to work them into future shows. I really love that rug. It's good, isn't it? It's really good. It's just funny. You know, anybody who finds rugs is allowed, to price the thing at whatever they feel is realistic and wherever their, finances are. Like, oh, I need money this week. I'm going to price it lower. I don't need money at all. I'm going to put like a ridiculous number on it. But, be very careful with these online auctions because people in general just do not know what they're holding, what they're looking at. I don't know how many times I've ordered rugs off eBay and I've asked the seller to send the rug rolled to me with the loops out, and instead I've gotten the rug folded. That is always a beauty for me because, you know, there was one time when I had a very old rug that came that way, and it was real hard to tell from the photos because there were so few whether there was any new damage. And I wasn't going to complain because, you know, it's such a wind up to complain to, such a wind up. And then you start a bunch of nasty grams going back and forth to each other, and that just the bad mojo. For me, usually isn't worth it because I never have so much to spend on a rug that I'm gonna like have a veritable fit over it. But I think it is unfair, when people send stuff and they're not listening and they're not experts and they are putting some tag words out there that they found in internet searches that are not accurate or correct. That's a real problem. So just be careful if you're searching online, even with better known, larger website auction sites. Even with those, be very, very careful because it is hard to return stuff, right? It's hard when you open cases up on sites like eBay. It's hard. You don't always win. Sometimes you think it's like there's no possible way that your situation could be seen in any other light, and then the case is closed and not in your favor, and you're out some money. And more than that, maybe a rug arrived that isn't what you thought, or it's damaged or something. Just be careful. And I mean, at this point in my life, but it's easy for me to say because I'm in a part of the country where there are tons of rugs, right? I'm in New England. So maybe I'm spoiled for choice. But I would say at this point, having been burnt so many times with online auctions, with textile stuff, I would really want to feel a sense of comfort with the seller. Like I would want to, and it's probably in my head because it probably doesn't make any difference at all. But I feel like I want to write to the person and be like, if I get this rug, would you roll it this way and send it this way? Because I have a collection of rugs. I love them very much. I particularly love this one. Lots of flattery, right? Spewing flattery. And then I would want some kind of comfort level that the person understood what the expectation was as far as shipping it, that they weren't going to do further damage to it. And if I had any outstanding questions about the rug itself, the quality, the condition, the provenance, if there is one, if you're spending a lot, if I had any questions about that, I would get all of that done first because it is disappointing to lose a rug because you're, hesitating, right? And someone else swoops in. But I have to say, for me, it's even worse to get something and it's not what I thought, or I feel ripped off, or it's damaged. You do you and search for treasures out there, but just be smart and don't feel like you're putting someone else out by asking questions about the nature of what they're selling, right? They're selling, they have a store from their living room, right? That in itself is a luxury. So asking questions about what the thing is, they can ignore you, but if they're going to answer, they better be truthful in their answer, or there's going to be, and you have to document that too, just in case, right? Just in case they give you an answer that is not quite true, or it just they give you what they think you want to hear. You're going to need that if there's ever a problem, God forbid. So be careful with these online auctions. Although it is fun to shop, right? It is fun to shop, and 9 times out of 10, it's a great transaction with a normal person who is communicates well and is truthful. So yeah, just be smart, and I will see you next time. Make sure you're signed up for all the great things that are coming up. I'm going to take a little rest at some point today, but I've got a bunch more things to ship out, hopefully to you, and hopefully I will see you Wednesday for the first Robert Frost class, but I will be with you a little bit earlier in the day for another episode of Coffee Time. Maybe we will conclude the look at this collection of rugs that I put in that we just can't get through. But I love that we have all these side conversations, and we express opinions on the different rugs and in our own sort of feelings about, do we like them, do we not like them. I love that we have these conversations, and what's the rush, right? I will see you next time at Ribbon Candy Hooking, Wednesday at noon Eastern Central Time. Have a great tomorrow.